Hey everybody, welcome to 312, the HRP Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Simmons. This is a special episode where we're going to be interviewing two of our longest serving employees. But first, I wanted to take a little quick moment to tell you about the structure of the podcast. Now, most episodes of 312 are divided into a work hard section, which is all business, and a play hard section where we get to know folks. For episodes like this, we like to combine the two and bring you the entire episode as a video podcast. Those of you out there in podcast land will be able to listen to the entire episode on your feed, but for those of you who want to see our smiling faces, head over to our YouTube channel and check us out there. All right, everybody, on to the show. Hey everybody, welcome to 312, the HRP Podcast. On this special episode, we are going to be interviewing two of HRP's longest serving employees, both of whom have been here for 40 years. We have
Deborah, Berardi, Principal and Director of HR.
Dave Adam, Senior Consultant, Field Services Division.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us.
And we initially were thinking about doing this as individual interviews, but after some conversation, we thought it would be really great to have the two of you in conversation with each other.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Sounds great.
All right. So, starting in order, how long have you worked at HRP?
You've been here a little bit longer, so you
Yeah.
can start.
40 years, 5 months.
And Deb?
40 years this month.
Oh. When did you start? Obviously 40 years ago, but tell us a little bit more about what that initial...
I actually started in June of 1984 as a project geologist. And of course, I was employee number 8, so there weren't a lot of us working at HRP at that point.
Yeah.
My initial job or role was we were doing a lot of record work, surface impoundments, closures, a lot of industrial clients, metal hydroxide sludge waste, textile waste going to actual unlined ponds. And we were doing a lot of work related to that. Monitor well installation, groundwater sampling, actual closure of the structures, and remediation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was doing when I started.
So Deb, did you also start in 84?
I started in 84 in November,
Yeah.
and I started as a word processor. I worked in a law firm as a legal secretary, and HRP was on the second floor, and I was on the first floor. And I used to see there was a handful of people back then, and got to know them. They seemed like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then they were looking for a secretarial position here, and they kind of stole me from the law firm. Took the job for less pay than I was making, but I thought it was a good opportunity, and I guess I was right there. So did word processing, and then Joe Rinaldi, who's the R in HRP, he took me under his wing and taught me about the books. So I was doing bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And then it just grew from there. Bookkeeping, didn't need a whole lot of HR back then. And then it grew into HR, many years later. I was doing a dual role of HR and accounting. And then the company was growing. I had to choose accounting or people, and I chose people.
So Deb, you said that you left the job you were initially at, even though it paid a little bit more. What about the opportunities that you saw at HRP made you want to make that leap?
Even back then, it was the people. They just seemed fun
Yeah.
and personable. I was in a law firm, so it was a little bit more corporate. Being in that legal position, you didn't really feel like you had any advancement, where when I talked to Joe Rinaldi, he made me feel like there was opportunity for me.
Yeah.
He was saying about all the jobs they had throughout the country and how they wanted to expand. So it just seemed like a great career move for me at that time.
Yeah. And at that time, it was only Connecticut, right?
It was only in Connecticut, but they wanted to expand right then and there.
Yeah.
I'm employee number 10. There was a couple that came and went before me.
And can you recall what our most recent employee number is?
I knew you were going to ask me that too. I think it's like 650 something.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot through our doors.
So Dave, when you started here, what were you doing before you took the job at HRP?
I actually had graduated, got an undergrad degree from Eastern Connecticut State University in that year in May. And I had been doing painting kind of till I could get something, full time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was doing. So I really started pretty quickly after graduating college. So,
what was your undergraduate degree in?
environmental earth science.
Okay. So when you started, you were more of the kind of what we think of as like a standard geologist or geology consultant here, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And your position now is primarily a field services person, right? Yes. Either one of you who wants to jump in on this one, feel free. Mm-hmm. What memories come to mind of your earliest days at HRP?
Crazy. It was, I mean, it's, I know we're work hard, play hard, and we did work hard.
Oh, yeah.
You know, everybody jumped in to help. I remember doing, I don't know why this like sticks out in my brain, but it was a Part B permit that we had to like type up, print out, and it was, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of pages. So we had an assembly line. Everybody, didn't matter who you were, what your position was, you're in the assembly line getting it all together.
Yeah.
So everybody worked together. And then when we're done with a project like that, we would go out and the play hard would begin.
Dave, how about you? What times do you recall?
Yeah, so the same basic thing. I remember the engineering group kind of guys had to put together some reports right away, and the same thing, helping them fold maps and binding reports and getting them out. And also the play hard. I remember the original 312. I don't think it was 312. It was probably a lot later than 312.
Yeah.
But, getting together at the end of the day and having some beer, a couple beers or whatever.
Yeah. So HRP thinks of itself as a work hard, play hard company. How have you seen that ethos play out in your years here? And how do you feel it's been reflected in your own career?
We still have that same mentality, work hard, play hard. And I think I tend to be more on the work hard end.
Yes.
But,
yeah.
When I was younger, probably more play hard. But now it's more like work hard.
Yeah, same. Well, I mean, being younger and, no children or significant others, living the single life. But we had fun. We did.
Yeah.
And we looked out for each other, which I think we still do. I still feel like it's a family. I mean, I think that's the greatest part of HRP. It's the people.
Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Now, back then, did you guys cross paths much in the office or see much of each other?
Oh, yeah, because it was
Yeah.
a small,
Yeah.
we were in a Victorian 3-story house, probably was a
Yes.
3-family at some point. So, yeah, you were always around each other
Yeah.
because it was a small group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you really got to know each other. I think that's the one thing that I kind of maybe miss a little bit more because it's a bigger company. You don't get to really know each other as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't see each other every day.
So tell us more about the kind of work that you're doing currently.
Currently, I'm doing more operation and maintenance of treatment systems. And on occasion, I'll do groundwater sampling, fill in for DOT,
Yeah.
supervising DOT work. But mainly it's the operation and maintenance of treatment systems. We have groundwater treatment systems, soil vapor extraction. We have some out-of-state, DEC work too. Some systems out of state that I'm also traveling down to Long Island once a month.
Yeah. So DOT, Department of Transportation for the state of Connecticut?
For Connecticut, yeah.
Okay. And what does that mostly consist of for you? What's your day-to-day on that line?
Environmental oversight.
Yeah.
Any highway projects or projects where they're encountering contaminated soils we have to manage.
And DEC is the New York Department of Environmental
Conservation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of tasks are you on there? Because I know it's a huge project for us.
Yeah, so it's mostly just operating and maintaining the groundwater treatment system we have out there. We actually have 2 systems
Yeah.
For the same property. And then on occasion, same thing, groundwater sampling. I kind of lend a hand to the other field services guys if they need help with groundwater sampling, But yeah, it's mainly just the operation and maintenance of the treatment systems out there right now.
Yeah, and what goes into like maintaining a treatment system?
Like the monthly visits, a lot of the systems we have issues with fouling, so we have these filters we have to constantly change out either weekly or once a month. And just maintaining the equipment, motors, pumps.
Yeah.
There's carbon vessels, air strippers, just going through and maintaining all that equipment.
Yeah.
So
are these sort of indefinite treatments, or is there a point at which the remediation will be completed?
There is a point at which, the remediation will be completed, but right now, quite a few of our systems are long-term, and some of them, like Connecticut systems, some of them in operation since the mid-'90s. And they're still going.
Yeah.
They're still treating groundwater.
Deb, so tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day consists of now.
Well, everything people, benefits, just maintaining benefits, answering questions a lot, just being there for anyone who might need me for anything. I think being here for a long time, I can be a good resource. If I don't know the answer, I can direct somebody in the right direction. Right now we're doing our benefits for 2025. So just trying to get, the best benefits for our employees. Their benefit enrollments, it's a lot of getting people to do what they're supposed to do. So I guess being like a mother of 125 children. But just here for everybody.
So how would you describe the arc of your career? What was the path you took to get from where you started to where you are now?
So I think for me, I was fortunate because I started when the company was young and there wasn't a lot of people here.
Yeah.
So I had opportunity where now, an employee starts and there's already 125 people, there might be like 4 or 5 people ahead of them to where they want to eventually go.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate that I just grew with the company, grew up with them. I just grew in new roles as we got larger.
Yeah. And you really carved your own path through it. I mean, you saw the opportunities that were available and you made the most of them. Yeah, for sure.
So that was, fortunate that I started when I did. So I think starting now wouldn't be as easy, to do that. But I would encourage anyone to go for whatever they want to try out. I think HRP is good that way.
Yeah, I think that certainly those opportunities are certainly still there for folks. I mean, I certainly feel that myself and someone who started out just scanning copies,
right.
And then becoming a marketing position and now hosting the 312 podcast, the illustrious 312 podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's HRP is definitely still that company.
No, definitely. You want to try something new or go into a different department. They're open for that. You just got to speak up.
Yeah. And Dave, I think you're kind of an interesting contrast here because I feel like you really zeroed in on what you wanted to do here and have like really made that your bread and butter for the years that you've been here. You think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah. And I think when I started out, I enjoy the field work.
Yeah.
And when I started out, it was a lot of field work. And then we kind of transitioned into doing more like phase 1, phase 2 work. A lot of phase 1 work where, were quick turnarounds. We were doing a lot of work for lenders. And I was starting to spend more time in the office, which I really didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And in the mid-'90s, the opportunity came where we won. John Hausman actually wanted to get an in-house drill rig.
Yeah.
Some type of soil sampling equipment.
He's Hausman, the H of HRP.
The H in HRP, yes. And so we interviewed, because I had a lot of experience with installing working with drilling contractors. And so I was part of the interview process, interviewing, potential drillers to, once we got the equipment, to use it and run it for us. And we found that, because we knew we wouldn't have work 40-hour week, a week for the drilling operations.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys just didn't want to, all they wanted to do was operate a drill rig. So we went back and forth, and I said, you know what, I can run the equipment. And we decided to go ahead and get the equipment, and I transitioned to field services division and started operating the drilling equipment, the rig. And we had that for a few years. We didn't want to spend a lot of money on equipment. Yeah. And at that point, the geoprobe, the vibratory push started really coming into play. A lot of new equipment was coming out. Yeah. And what we had wasn't really we weren't able to compete with that.
How different was a drill rig then from the kind of stuff we see on site now?
The actual drill rigs are pretty similar. We still have hollow stem auger rigs. Yeah. And but a lot more of the vibratory push now.
Yeah. Like the sonic drill rigs?
Yeah, and the sonic now. So the technology is a lot better now. The tooling's a lot better. And you can get a lot more production done. Yeah. So what we had really couldn't keep up with that. And at that point, we decided just to sell the equipment. But then I transitioned into still stayed in field services, transitioned more into the operations of treatment systems, design and build. Field services actually has installed a couple of systems where we don't, we rely on subs only to do excavation work and stuff, but we can build and install. And that's interesting. I love doing that. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah. Why do you think that appeals to you so much?
I think it's just the hands-on, the outdoor work. Mm-hmm. Actually, when you get build a system and then start operating it and see it work, it's that's a good feeling.
Yeah, you've been able to watch those systems across 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the systems we built, I think in 2016, right now we're up to about 32 million gallons of water treated through that system. And that's something that I think Keith and I really did all the hands-on, built it. Mm-hmm. And so, it's nice and it's still operating. We don't have a lot of issues with it. Yeah. So that's a good feeling too. So,
do you think that's the site or project that you've worked on for the longest time, or is there one that you've been on longer than that?
I was also involved when I was during the field services and during the drilling and stuff. I think right after we sold the drill rig, I was on a 2-year project in New London, and we had our own construction trailer and stuff out there. Yeah, and that was environmental oversight, overseeing other contractors doing both cleanup work. And then after that, site utility work, building structure, and just making sure that when they encountered contaminated material, handled properly and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was, I think, the longest project where I was actually out of the office and had my own setup, in the field.
Yeah. So responsiveness is core to HRP's mission statement. What role has responsiveness played in each of your careers?
Well, for me, I just think responding to the employees if they have a problem or a question, that's always my priority. Yeah. Regardless of what I have going on at my desk, which is a lot every day. Yeah. But just making sure employees feel heard and safe. They should always feel safe. Yeah. Here at work, we want to strive for that. Just responsive to every employee's needs. Mm-hmm. At my desk, I don't get to go out in the field. We're like total opposites here. Yeah. But I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the treatment systems, if something goes down, being able to respond immediately to try to get things back up and running. And even over the years, when I was doing a lot of phase 1 work, a lot of the clients wanted immediate answers for land transfers and stuff. So being responsive, being able to just get the work done as quickly as possible and do quality work, So I think that's the way the company has been operating, and we'll try to be as responsive as possible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What ways would you say the company has changed, and how would you say it's stayed the same?
I think it still has the kind of the small company feel in a way. Mm-hmm. I think other consulting companies would be a lot more difficult to work with for. And I don't. So I know we're a larger company. We're a big company now. Yeah. But it still has a kind of family feel to it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. We've always been flexible with our employees, and your family can come first. Mm-hmm. You don't have to worry, if you just have to run out, you have an emergency with a parent or a child, you can just run out and not have to worry you're going to lose your job. Yeah. They've always been that way, and they still are today. So I don't think they've changed that way. It's harder when you have a bigger company, you still have to have policies, you have to have procedures. But I still think it's a family feel. Yeah. And that's why I've been here for 40 years. It's definitely the people.
Yeah. And what do you think is the biggest change, the biggest difference between then and now?
Well, as far as my work, it's changed greatly. Because when I started, everything was manual. I was writing out checks and doing everything manually, processing timesheets, keying in everybody's timesheets that they did manually, which I think it was great because that's how I actually learned the processes, because you're doing it manually, you're doing the paychecks. You're actually figuring out everybody's taxes. Now you just press buttons, so you might not understand what's behind it and why it's processing. So I think that was another great benefit, that I was able to actually learn what I'm doing just because I had to do it, by looking up tax codes and putting in the numbers, typing up W-2s with 5 carbon copies. People probably don't even know what carbon paper is, do they? So it was great. It was a big learning.
Dave, what do you think is the biggest change that you've seen in the company?
I guess, well, I think one of the biggest changes is the use of cell phones.
Yeah.
When I started, there were no cell phones. So if you're out in the field, you have to go find a payphone to call your project manager.
Yeah.
And then also no maps and directions. So, you never know where you're going. From day to day, sometimes things change.
Yeah.
So you're constantly looking up maps, searching maps that have road atlases. So now everything with the cell phone, it makes life so much easier at the company.
I never thought
so
of that, because
funny,
so many of the sites are really off the beaten path too.
Yeah.
Not going to be on the map.
Yeah. And I remember one job we had, it was a pretty big project. I was out a couple weeks with a couple of drill crews. And I think it was actually Bob Leach. I was working for Bob at the time.
He's one of the...
He was one of the previous owners.
Yes.
And, he wanted me to just check in daily with him, lunchtime. Well, unfortunately, the nearest payphone was about 15, 20 minutes away from the site. And then you never know when you show up if there's somebody on the phone. So it's just stuff like that, You'd spend an hour and a half on the phone, traveling to the phone, on the phone, getting back to the site. I remember doing that. I remember stopping at payphones in downtown Hartford. And
Yeah, I mean, just on the sites I've been on, there's so many times where people need to check in with their project manager to troubleshoot some issue that needs to be solved right away.
Right.
I don't know how you would have done that, having to go 20 minutes down the road, get some quarters in there.
Yeah,
that's true. You'd have to have the change to make the calls.
Yeah, and I think we got credit cards, phone cards. I think at the time it was, I don't know, the phone company at the time, but I think we had actual cards so we can use those too. And I don't know.
Worry about finding a quarter.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Emails, everything.
Yeah.
When we first got computers, we had a couple offices that had them. So you had to go into that office to actually write an email or receive an email. We had shared email addresses.
Yeah. Didn't one of the previous owners really fight against getting emails? Email addresses?
Well, I think because it was a new technology and they just weren't sure how, because
this'll never
really didn't know how it was going to be.
Yeah, it's true.
Look at us now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't get away from them.
If you don't get an immediate response, you're frustrated.
Exactly. We built that email responsiveness into the core of the company.
I know. But there's technology has been the biggest by far change.
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be.
And it's great too, being able to work on a site. Say you're at a treatment system, you have your laptop. If I have to look up some information, pull from the job file here, I can do it remotely, with my laptop, which makes it nice. You don't have to run into the office.
Oh, I know.
Make copies and.
Yeah.
What was the process of technological integration into your jobs for you guys? Were you early adopters? Were you resistant to it? I don't want to be in this kind of thing. I was a very resistant to integrating technology. I didn't start texting until I was 28.
No, I loved it.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Because it just made everything easier.
Yeah.
Well, plus I was already being a typist.
Yeah.
So I was kind of used to being on some type of a computer. But no, it was great. Because I was on the phone all day long. I'd be just on my phone.
Yep.
Now you rarely even make a phone call.
Never.
Which
who
can
even
make
answers
things
the phone?
easier, though,
Yeah.
making a phone call. Now we don't, I don't know, we're afraid to call people.
I'm afraid to answer the phone. I don't know who the hell it's going to be. Dave, how about you? How was technology a part of your...
I don't think I resisted it. It just maybe took me a little while to get the hang of using it and learning it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really resisted it. I kind of...
You're still making those payphone calls?
Yeah, actually, I think actually I was one of the first field people with a cell phone. Remember, we back then when they first came out, they were like
I was saying a
little suitcase, like a little bag. And I was just sick of using the payphone. It's like, I got to get my own cell phone. And the company would reimburse us like the calls we made. But it was a big hassle because every month you get a phone bill with all the calls and then have to go through and turn in to get reimbursed. But yeah, I think I was one of the first people to actually have a cell phone because the payphone thing wasn't working.
No. I'm fascinated though by this. So this bag. So describe for me what this physically looked like and how it was you interacted with it.
It was a small, like probably a foot by 6 inches. It had the an antenna, exterior antenna, which you folded up when you went to use the phone. The phone had of course a cord.
Yep.
On a handset.
Yep.
And the handset, you could dial the handset like a regular phone, like a regular house phone.
Yes.
And then the battery I forget how many hours you get out of the battery, but you could plug it into a cigarette lighter in your car.
Yep.
You pretty much had to leave it in the vehicle.
Okay,
I wouldn't walk around like a site with it. I'd have to go back to the vehicle, use it. And back then there weren't a lot of cell towers, so there were a lot of areas in the state where it wouldn't even work, or you'd have to drive kind of to a higher elevation.
Drive past the payphone to get to it's where you get reception.
Yeah.
Because you reminded me of the phone bills. Doing the accounting, we'd have to go through like hundreds of pages and like highlight the work, work calls versus personal calls.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't
It was
even
a
think
nightmare.
of that.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think they give those kind of bills anymore.
I don't
It was
think
detailed
so.
with every single number that you called.
And it wasn't cheap either. I don't know what the calls were per minute, but it wasn't like free. There was no such thing as free.
No extended plans. For unlimited.
Yeah.
Almost no one in HRP's history has seen as much of our company as the both of you have. How would you describe the kind of company HRP has been?
They're just good. They're good. They care about their employees.
Yeah.
They always have with, I think with every passing owner, HRP started the foundation, and I think every owner has just, continued with that. I think.
Yeah, I agree. They're good to work with, work for. I've over the years, been able to kind of do what I need to do, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Enjoyed my work, and it's just a great company to work for.
What do you wish for the future of HRP in terms of HRP, the company?
I hope, that they continue to grow, but still keep that small family feel. I know it's probably going to be hard if they want to get to 200, 300 people.
Yeah.
But hopefully it can stay the same in that respect. And they always will listen to their employees, and the employees speak up for themselves.
Yeah, so hopefully, like Deb was saying, stay the way it kind of has been and is. Like you said, it's gonna continue to grow, but so far, really, they're still easy to talk to. Management's easy to talk to, and hopefully it continues that. What
do you think of the younger generation of HRP employees who you've worked with so far?
I think they're so smart. We work with such smart people.
Yeah.
They really are. I think they're great. I hope we can continue to have them employed at HRP.
New employees I work with are great. Good to work with. You always hear, that the younger people don't care. They're lazy, And I don't see that here.
Yeah.
The younger people here, new employees here, are all hardworking. They're easy to get along with, easy to work with.
What advice would you give to current HRP employees, given your perspectives?
I would tell them to speak up. If you have a problem or concern or there's something else you want to try, don't be afraid. Speak up because you can.
Yeah, we've had some employees come and go where, on their way out, they kind of tell me, oh, I had a goal of being project manager, whatever my goal is, another level in the company by a certain time, with a couple of years or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the company has a lot of opportunities. I don't see title to me isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think there's so many different opportunities. You shouldn't just stay focused on, I want to be a manager within 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many projects I've been on where I've managed contractors and, you really are doing management work, out in the field, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So I just say, give the company a chance. And I think just don't kind of worry about your title. All the, it's...
Mm-hmm. We need you on our recruiting calls.
So to close this out here, what is something you know today that you wish you knew when you started working at HRP?
My first day, I walked into the office and I met with John Hausman, one of the H in HRP, and he's like, "Oh, you're going to be working with Bob Leach today."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, I said, "Well, is Bob in the office?" "Yeah." "Oh, no, you're going to meet Bob on a site." And it's like, "Okay, where am I going?" And I forget where it was. I think it was New Hartford or something. And I was thinking to myself, well, it must be near Hartford. But, I lived and grew up in the state and everything, but I really, just within the couple of towns in where my hometown was and going to college, I didn't really know the state, I guess. So I was like, okay, well, where's New Hartford? How do I get there? And so I wish I had, maybe if I had traveled the state more.
Yeah.
Because I kind of was lost when I first started. It's like, and that's when the maps and atlases, everything came in. And for such a small state, I really didn't know.
Having had such opportunity, I was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was always something for me to learn, to do, to grow into a different position.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe have more confidence in myself and speak up right away, not let things fester, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they will listen, and I don't know, just have more confidence in myself. I wish I had more.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today, and congratulations on 40 years here at HRP.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Very welcome. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us out there. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you're listening to us out there on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye.